Hi guys, it's Mrs. Kushner, and today we are going to take a look at analytical writing, how to write an analytical paragraph. Make sure you have your notes ready to go, and let's get started. Alright, so in this video, you will learn how to write a paragraph that analyzes evidence. Any paragraph that uses evidence, that you have to analyze that evidence, this applies to. Let's get started. Okay, there are 6 elements to an analytical paragraph. Always have a topic sentence, a lead into the quote with a quote and citation, gotta clarify it, gotta explain it, and then have to conclude. Now, this is not the only way to break down these steps. Other teachers will say there's 3 steps or 4 steps, different memory mnemonics, and those are a-okay. The reason I like this, though, is because it actually breaks down really nicely into a paragraph outline, which we'll see in just a sec. Now, what makes this an analytical paragraph instead of a paragraph with a quote? What does it is steps 4 and 5 right there, that clarify and explain. What you do in those steps is analyze that quote. And here, I mentioned it breaks down into a paragraph. Here you can see it. So step 1, that topic sentence, boom, becomes your topic sentence. Steps 2, 3, 4, and 5, boom, those become your supporting sentences. Your supporting sentence, number 1, lead into the quote, quote citation. Supporting sentence 2, clarify. Supporting sentence 3, explain. And then conclude your paragraph. No problem. Now, you will also sometimes need more than one sentence to clarify and explain. That's a-okay. Those just become an expanded paragraph with detail sentences. No big deal. All right, let's dive in and look at each of these steps more carefully. What actually are they? What do they require of you? So, topic sentence number 1. This is where you make your claim. Whatever you are claiming in this paragraph, whatever stance you are taking, point you are proving, gotta put it in your topic sentence. On a test, this would be the sentence that opens your paragraph that answers the literal question. So when the test question says, what is one main theme in the Harry Potter series? This is your sentence that literally answers that question. And I can hear some of you going, wait, but how do I develop my claim? How do I get to that answer? And I say to you, deep breath in, deep breath out. You already know. This is where this gets tied into all that work we've been doing about text annotation. Because step 1 to making a claim is just read and annotate the text. You already know how to do that. Step 2, look at what you actually annotated, examine it, and discuss it. Discuss it with your classmates, discuss it with your teacher, discuss it with yourself. You can have a really good discussion with yourself about these annotations, and whatever comes out of those conversations, those are those conclusions you draw. And congrats, your conclusion that you draw, whatever idea you produce from your annotation and discussion, that's your idea. That's your claim that you're proving in your thesis. There you go. All right, so 2 examples. The fictional example, totally taken straight from that test question I said. It answers the question straightforward. In the Harry Potter series, the author J.K. Rowling suggests the theme that bravery is a virtue. Now, it can apply to nonfiction. This is your science class. This is your social studies class. This is your research paper. And here I'm using stress as an example. Stress impacts most students to a more serious negative degree than they realize, especially during tests. And now I know that whole paragraph is going to talk about stress and its impacts on students. All right, lead into the quote. We're going to actually go more in depth on this and citing the quote itself in a different video. But for now, I want you to know its basic purpose. The basic purpose of a lead into the quote is just a short transition from that claim you made and into that quote that you're about to give. Depending on your teacher, this might get called embedding a quote. This might also get called transitioning into a quote. Regardless of what you call it, they are all doing the same job. It could be as short as saying, for example, and then keep going. Or one example occurs when, and then giving your quote. It really doesn't have to be long at all. 3 is the quote itself. Now, when I say quote, you're probably thinking a direct quote that is copied out of a text and put into quotations. That counts, but also a paraphrased fact counts. So in science or social studies, when you are not literally quoting out of an article, but you're taking the idea from that article to use in your own paragraph, to put it in your own words, you're paraphrasing it. That still needs to be cited. No matter what, if you pull information from any other source other than your brain, it's someone else's idea, and you need to give them credit with a citation. Again, citation information coming in that next video. All right, step 4. Here's where I want to dig in on step 4 and 5. Clarify. What do I mean when I say clarify? What I mean is, really, what does the quote mean? Clarify the quote for your reader. You want to pretend that no matter who your audience is, you want to pretend that audience has not read the book. So even if you're writing to me on a test about a book we read in class, and you're thinking, I know you know the book because you read it with us, you're right. But for the sake of clear writing, you're going to pretend I haven't read it. And that's how you're going to mentally approach this clarify step. What you're doing is you're saying, what does the quote mean? And that can look a lot of different ways depending on the quote and the purpose of the paragraph. One common thing to clarify is to paraphrase that quote, to put that complicated quote into easy to understand words. It also might mean defining a word. If that quote uses a complicated word, maybe a complicated science word, you need to explain what the complicated science word is for your reader. Or it could mean you've pulled a quote from a story from Harry Potter. Awesome. But remember, you're pretending your reader hasn't read Harry Potter. And there are 7 of those books. So even if they have, they probably need a little refresher anyways. So you might want to give a little context. What just happened that made that quote be said in the first place? And also it could mean explaining what's implied. So if a quote sounds one way, but actually in the context of the story, it had a different meaning, an implied meaning, you want to go ahead and tell your reader that. Let's take a look. I think this is easier to see in action. So looking at fiction, still going with the Harry Potter theme of bravery idea, the quote is, it takes a great deal of courage to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. And so in this case, the clarify became giving context. What happened in the story that quote happened? Who said the quote? Why did they say the quote? And that, sure enough, that's what the clarify sentence tells us. Here, Dumbledore is praising Neville's courage to stand up to his friends equally with Harry's bravery to save the Philosopher's Stone. Ta-da! This could also, in nonfiction, be a simplifying, taking the complicated quote, making it easy to understand. So if your quote was, our performance is likely to deteriorate, your reader's probably already thinking, performance at what? And deteriorate. I don't remember what that word means. Yikes. Here's your chance to help your reader out. You're going to say, in other words. So you're telling your reader, hey, I'm going to give it to you straight. Valcour argues that stress reduces the brain's ability to focus and remember facts. Suddenly your reader's like, oh, I get it. Performance, as in focus and remember, deteriorate, reduce, must mean it gets worse. Got it. All right, and then last is this explain step. Well, second to last, you still have to conclude. So second to last, you have to explain. If clarify is what does the quote mean, explain is, and why did this quote matter to me? Why do I care about the quote you gave me? Again, minimum of 1 sentence here, and often more than 1 sentence. There are a bunch of different ways that you can tell your reader why your quote matters. Here's just some of them. You could explain to your reader why the quote proves your original topic sentence, or why it proves a larger thesis sentence if this is a larger, longer essay. You could tell your reader, why does this quote apply to your life? Make that quote matter to your reader because it impacts them, their daily life. And you might also say, well, hey, this quote matters because this other thing in the book, look, they connect. So any connection that you're drawing between the quote and something else counts as explaining here. Again, let's dig into these examples because this is the best way to see it in action. Here is your full analytical paragraph that was just written about Harry Potter. So to review, our topic sentence was saying that bravery is a virtue is a theme in the book. Next, we had the lead into the quote, and the quote, one example occurs when the head of the school says, and he gives the quote about standing up to friends, is equal to standing up to enemies. We have our context sentence, Dumbledore's praising Neville for standing up to his friends, equally with Harry saving the Philosopher's Stone. And now we get to the explain piece. And this author has done two things. They've connected that quote to the thesis that bravery is a virtue, but they've also connected it to other parts in the book. So step one, connection to the thesis. They said, this moment is crucial. This moment matters because it communicates to readers that both big and small acts of bravery are important. Then they also connected to the text. When Dumbledore gives house points to Gryffindor for each brave act, he's rewarding the virtue of bravery in a tangible, a physical, real way, implying that bravery will pay off eventually. So again, they're connecting it to the text and kind of alluding to that theme, bravery is good. In nonfiction, in science, you might be connecting it to your reader. Hey reader, why should you care about my paragraph about stress? So that topic sentence, stress negatively impacts students, especially on tests. Example, performance is likely to deteriorate. In other words, this is your clarify. Stress reduces the brain's ability to focus and remember facts. And here's that why does it matter piece, your explain piece. This fact is significant for all students. Automatically, as the reader being a student, they're going, oh, I care about this. This fact is significant for all students because it suggests that work ethic and study skills are not enough to succeed on tests. The student must stay calm too. All right, and then last, you just have to conclude. This is your conclusion sentence where you wrap up the paragraph in a pretty bow. That could mean you're wrapping it up because you're not writing anymore. That could also mean that you're wrapping it up in a way that leads your reader into that next idea, into the next paragraph, the next piece of evidence, whatever it is you have next up. Whew. All right, you made it. In this lesson, you have learned how to write a paragraph that analyzes evidence. Great work, because this is a doozy of a topic. Finally, take action now. Write a question about today's lesson on your notes, and I know there are going to be some questions because this one was a lot to chew through. As always, write it at the bottom of your notes. We will talk about it tomorrow. Great work today, and I will see you next time.